I won't have it. Not I.
It's just for one night.
Well, who are you to tell me that you need a night off so you can go to the opening of some museum?
I don't see what the fuss is about. I want to say something new instead of the same things we say.
What? Little Willies?
Or limp ones? Oh, hey lad, want to park your boat in my port?
No, I've seen his boat. It's more like a skiff.
Say, you're scared him off. If I don't get some money, Charlie's gonna have me out.
Don't worry about old Charlie. He's all bark and no bite. Did you hear about Mary?
I don't want to think about it.
I heard. She was gutted like a fish.
What a horrible way to go.
Police still don't have a clue who the blighter is.
I don't understand why she was alone. It's one of her first rules in our profession.
It gives me chills just to think about it. What kind of an animal would do that?
Fancy a roll?
I'll keep me knickers on if it's better for you. No. I don't think there'll be much opportunity here. Hi, Nellie.
I'm at it home now. You with me?
Suppose. Let me get me basket. You startled me, love. Aye, you fancy a shag? What?
Now come, Watson. Surely you cannot believe that there is anything to it.
Now, Holmes, you know that the City of London needs a bridge like that. We need a bridge near the Tower of London. Think of the time that would be saved.
Another toy of the industrial age. Do you think it will stop there? I imagine there will be more contraptions created for the sake of time saved than even you can pretend.
I know
Watson,
that London...
Old man, there are plenty of bridges in London. I see no need for another.
But this is a bridge that will not cut off access for ships. The increase of people living in the East End necessitates it.
Oh, so now the people are the reason, huh? Do you really think the Parliament is thinking about the people?
Well, they approved of it 3 years ago. They must have known that it would help with the congestion.
If Parliament were more concerned with people rather than commercial construction, London would be an even greater place than it is. Think of it, Watson. A government with the humanitarians in charge, yeah? Wouldn't that send a message to the world?
You cannot stop the future. You said it yourself.
Only you, Watson, can turn my own words against me.
Here we are.
Mrs. Hudson, your timing is, as always, perfect.
Oh, you do go on, Mr. Holmes. I made some fresh scones for you, Dr. Watson, and help yourself to the clotted cream and jam.
Oh, Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
What do you think of this mechanical monstrosity over the Thames?
Well, if it saves me time doing my shopping, I'm all for it.
That's how it starts, Watson. In an instant. Starts with an idea, then it broadens into an obsession. People want the easiest way they can find. Much like the criminals we hunt.
I wouldn't want to place Mrs. Hudson with that lot.
Well, of course not, old man, but surely even you can see the correlation. As most ideas start out with the promise of being good. Sometimes it's the circumstances, sometimes the minutiae. It's the active person who changes the outcome.
Active or passive, people are the common factor. Cream?
No, thank you. I would say people are an interesting lot. You never really know someone until it's too late. Take us, for example. Without Mrs. Hudson, we should be drowned in our own filth. Our habits...
Yes, especially yours.
I agree, I'm a slave to my own mind. Imagine me without her for a month. I should be so overwhelmed by the filth that I would be incapacitated. A little more tea, my friend.
Oh, yes, of course. Who the devil could that be?
Well, I imagine we shall find out in a moment or two. Perhaps a new client.
I surely hope so. You've been positively beastly since your last case.
I say, Watson, I have not been that bad. Perhaps then again I have. Inspector Lestrade. To what do we owe this visit?
Sorry for the intrusion, gentlemen, but there's been an incident.
A murder? What's happened, Inspector?
Please, begin at the beginning.
Right. Officer?
Yes, sir. At 2 a.m., police were called to a back alley in Whitechapel. When police arrived, they found the victim with her throat slit and with her entrails spilled out. According to her friend, she heard a scream, came running, and saw a cloaked figure running around the corner. The victim's name was a Miss Annie Chapman.
Thank you, officer. Please wait downstairs. Excellent. I know this seems like a regular case, but as to the whereabouts...
I see your concern, Inspector.
I am completely flummoxed.
You had better tell him, Mr. Holmes.
The inspector and I have been working a case together, and this crime seems like the work of the same villain. Tell me, Watson, did you hear anything about the murder of one Mary Ann in Whitechapel?
I don't remember one.
We tried not to have the facts of the case in the paper. It was a grisly murder of a working girl. Mr. Holmes and I went over the case details and believed the killer would strike again.
Precisely, Lestrade. It looks as if our intuitions have proven correct.
And you think this is the same person as before?
Yes, Doctor. According to the morgue report, this madman is using a very sharp blade and dissecting his victims. Some of the men at the yard are calling him Jack the Ripper.
That is exactly the sort of piffle that we're trying to keep out of the newspapers.
Well, I'm afraid that is quite impossible now because someone told the Guardian.
Ghastly murder in the East End. Dreadful mutilation of a woman.
I'm afraid our case is not ours anymore. There's to be a full investigation.
This is not your fault, Inspector. I happen to believe that there is someone working for the police who's been passing information to the local papers for some time.
Well, if you know who it is...
No, I don't know who it is. I've merely deduced it for some time. What does the report say?
Well, it seems that the case is similar to the other, Mr. Holmes. Same knife cut, same incision. I also know the witness is with Charlie's lot.
Charlie's lot?
Oh, Charles Van Houten, a.k.a. Charlie the Pimp. She worked for him. He's the blighter that takes these girls and puts them to work. He's one of the main pimps in the area.
Well, if you know that, why haven't you arrested him?
He's eluded us at every turn. He's always one step ahead of us. He's been working from some kind of a large organization, which keeps him moving all the time.
Inspector, do you think the killer has a motive in attacking these women?
Well, I don't see any correlation between the two, except for their profession.
The killer is making a statement. Watson, look at this. Look at the incision. What sort of instrument do you think was used?
It was a very small, sharp knife. No, it's surgical.
Precisely. This was made by the hand of a surgeon. The downward slash isn't erratic, but it's made with deliberacy.
Holmes, it is as you say, but there is something else. The bowels were removed post-mortem. There is no way to cut that precisely with a live person, especially when attacked. I would say that the killer slit her throat and waited for her to lose consciousness before he started cutting her. The cut on the throat was not in a straight line like the other incision. And according to the medical examiner, this was the same conclusion. Oh God, poor girl. At least she was dead before he disemboweled her.
Lestrade, I should have some more men in that area for the time being if I were you.
You think the killer will strike again?
Indubitably. Watson, we need to see my brother. Good day, Lestrade.
Good day, good day.
Inspector,
And may God be with you.
why do we need to see your brother?
Anything that goes on in London, he'll know about.
Won't we be arriving at tea time?
Well, I certainly hope so. Then I know he'll be there. Of course, he doesn't leave the Diogenes Club very often.
I say, Holmes, working with Lestrade, that's the other mystery in this case.
Please do not put that in any of those penny dreadfuls you publish.
But you've always been harsh with Lestrade. Why the change of heart now?
He isn't the issue. We have a lunatic on the loose. This could be a very dangerous case. Lestrade has access to resources that are not available to me. Working with him is a logical choice. You still have your revolver.
Oh, yes, of course.
Don't forget that coat.
I say, Holmes, do you think Lestrade will be forthright with his information from Scotland Yard?
Oh, of course he will. He came to me.
Really?
Yes. He actually asked for my help. I was almost flattered.
I can't believe it.
Let's not worry about that now. We need to see my brother.
Of course, Holmes. Oh, well, it looks like another cold day in London.
Show him in.
Get to the point, Sherlock. I have a busy schedule today.
Ah, no doubt another Yorkshire pudding to attend to, eh?
Really, little brother, why do you think that would affect me now when it didn't affect me then?
I don't expect you to react to it. I merely wanted to get your undivided attention.
Wonderful to see you again, Doctor.
Likewise to you, sir.
I did enjoy your last publication. I found it rather exuberant.
Oh, you read The Strand?
Of course. How do you think I keep track of my brother's activities?
I am flattered, sir.
I expect that my brother has found himself in a troublesome spot and needs my help to get him out of it again.
Nothing of the sort. Mother always said you were one to remember things I'd forgotten. Yes. Remember that time you kept my music hidden?
Holmes, please. I'm dreadfully sorry for your brother's sarcasm, but we are in need of information.
On the background of Annie, I do keep a close watch on things in the paper. I am, after all, part of the government.
Mycroft, you amaze even me. How did you know we were on the case? Have you spoken to Lestrade?
No, nothing so boorish. There is a killer loose in the streets of London who was struck twice recently. The government does not want a citywide panic. And The Guardian publishing headlines such as these does not help.
So you know about the two...
Yes.
Do you think the killer is making a statement?
In what way, Doctor?
The barbarous nature of the crime. Disemboweled women. This is not something that we've seen very often. Maybe the killer hates women.
An astute observation, Doctor. But I believe there is more to this than meets the eye. It seems that crime has started to take a violent turn. What do you think?
I think that this is a clear case of one man doing these heinous crimes. He has surgical skill and can wield a knife better than I can handle my Stradivarius.
Well, I don't know if that is true, but whoever is doing this is quite thorough.
Your skills are quite well known, Doctor, but I believe this is something we've not yet seen before here in the Empire. Here. I believe that will help you in your search. It is all the information we could ascertain on the victim. I'm sure you have your own theories on the subject, but if you would please be the model of discretion.
I thank you. This could prove most useful. Why do you stay in here and not interact with your fellow man? This would seem very stifling to me.
I created the Diogenes Club as a sanctuary for the discreet men of London.
I just don't want you wasting away.
Oh, no, that would be something indeed.
You need to get out a bit more, brother.
And why would I ever want to do that?
Yes. Lestrade really should have a look at these, though I doubt he'd understand half of them.
I've written down all the information you requested, Holmes. Do you need anything else?
Ask Mrs. Hudson to refresh the tea, if you would, old man.
Very well.
Yes, sir.
He would like some fresh tea, if you would be so kind.
Oh, I will put the kettle on. Oh, I'm expecting a delivery. Would you be so kind, Doctor, as to answer the door if it comes, and I'll make the tea?
I would be happy to.
If you could do it quietly, that would be a great help.
You know, Holmes, she's going to leave you one of these days if you keep treating her like that.
What was that?
I said...
Watson, come look at this. Both bodies have the same incision in precisely the same place. How could someone do that? Is that a procedure that is taught at medical school?
I think that most doctors try to begin a surgery in the same place. Few would start in a different location unless the injury necessitates it. Why do you ask?
Well, most criminals don't usually try to worry about finesse. They're in too big of a hurry to elude the police or effect their escape. You know, I think this case has something very different about it. That must be the delivery. Do see to it, will you, old man?
Oh, very well.
What was the delivery?
It looks like a new hat for Mrs. Hudson.
Another play at vanity. She orders more hats than Her Majesty herself.
Mrs. Hudson, your package has arrived!
Watson, will you please? It's just what I thought.
What is it, Holmes? Some clue?
Nothing so monumental as that yet, old man, but I did find the type of cut that our killer used. It's in this old book of field medicine from the West Indian campaign.
Here, let me see that. It does seem to match the killer's modus operandi. Wherever did you find this book?
A bookshop in Kensington. I believe this could be a clue to the killer's identity. If that is another delivery, I shall strangle the postmaster.
Hopefully it isn't a client.
Here's tea.
Mrs. Hudson, your package has arrived.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. I've been waiting for this one for 2 weeks. I have an engagement next week. This one will be perfect for it. Did I hit the bell a moment ago?
Yes, you did. Holmes! I say Holmes. Who was it?
Actually, it was for you, Watson.
Adam? Is that really you?
Hello, Doctor.
Holmes! This is Dr. Adam Fisher. He and I were in Afghanistan together.
Oh, well, it's lovely to meet you, Doctor. This is our housekeeper, Mrs. Hudson.
Nice to meet you, Doctor.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Hudson.
Well, sit down, sit down. What have you been doing with yourself all these past few years? Oh, my goodness. Has it really been that long?
I've been in Scotland, Wales, and now England. I'm working with veterans in the rehabilitation.
Adam was one of the best surgeons we had. There were many a day when I was happy to have his help with many of the cases we saw.
Yes. Tell me, Doctor, is our Watson the same as he was then?
I'll tell you that he is and was. Although he wasn't as into the catching of criminals as of late. I've been following you through the Strand.
Oh, you read of his exploits.
Of course, everyone does. The famed Sherlock Holmes. And his trusty companion, Dr. Watson.
You see, Holmes? Not just the rabble of the streets read my penny dreadfuls, as you call them. Mrs. Hudson, may we have another cut for our guest?
Oh, yes, certainly. Give me a chance to try on my new hat.
So, have you seen any of our old regiments in your travels?
Sadly, I have not. Most of them don't want to remember that awful time. Many want to forget their campaign.
Yes, I can understand that. I rarely speak of it myself.
It was a bloody mess. Well, let's not dwell on the past, John. I heard you got married.
Yes, yes. Her name is Mary.
He was always one with the ladies.
Really?
And what of Susan? Did you ever ask her?
Yes, I did. She, however, said no.
Oh, I'm dreadfully sorry.
My brother isn't. She married him and they have 6 children together. She became quite the shrew. I dodged that bullet, thank the Lord. So, do you have a new case of trucking in London?
Actually, we do.
I don't know if this would be of any interest.
No, I would be very interested. It's not every day I get to see the great detective at work. Is this in regards to what I've read in the papers?
Yes, it would seem we have quite the madman walking about town.
Tell me, Doctor, what do you know of incisions?
Adam was the chief surgeon of our battalion.
That's actually wonderful. We are discussing the incision of the killer's knife. Now, I believe these 2 crimes to be related. Tell me, have you ever seen this procedure before?
It's an older type of incision. Most of the surgeons today do not use this type. Did the cut follow the breastbone of the victim?
Yes, it did.
Yes, the killer used a sharp knife across the throat, then down the victim post-mortem.
It would seem that the killer has some sort of medical training. I'm not sure where, since it is an older technique.
So we are looking for someone older?
I don't know if that would be accurate. If anyone read this book, they could learn that type of technique. The killer seems to be taking these women apart, hence the Ripper monogram. It seems that, from what I've read in the papers, he is attacking women of ill repute for a reason that isn't clear.
Precisely, Doctor. You have an eye for crime. There has to be some psychological reason for attacking these women.
Now, come now, Holmes. How do you know this is not some upset wife who is stalking these women in response to what a philandering husband is doing on his days off?
Or it could be a psychotic priest thinking he's doing God's work.
Doctor, I thank you for your insights, but let's not have theories abound. They can muddle a case faster than Scotland Yard.
Mr. Holmes, I would start by looking at medical students.
What do you think, doctors?
It's fabulous.
It is the height of fashion.
It's quite something.
Oh, you men don't know fashion at all. I shall be the envy of my social circle. Your tea, doctor.
I think it's ghastly.
It does make a statement.
Yes, and rather a bad one at that.
What did you think, Adam?
I find it chilling. I'm sorry, John. What was that?
The hat, what did you think?
Oh, I didn't think that much of it.
I'm so sorry we were interrupted, Doctor. And now, what were you saying about medical students?
Yes.
I don't remember. Dear me, is that the time? I must be off.
Oh, leaving so soon?
Please forgive me. I have an appointment with a patient within the hour.
Of course, we understand, Doctor. Hippocratic oath, all that.
It was wonderful to meet you, Mr. Holmes. John, we should get together in the near future.
I agree. Let's not let too much time pass again. Didn't you find that odd, Holmes?
No, not in the slightest.
Strange that he would find me here after all these years.
Watson, I have a question of a personal nature.
Oh, yes, Holmes.
I understand you served in the Afghanistan, but you've never spoken of it. Why is that?
It was a rather strenuous time of my life.
If you'd rather not tell me,
No, it's not that at all. You remember the first words that you spoke to me after we met? You said, "You have been to Afghanistan," I perceive.
Yes, I recall. You were quite astonished.
Quite. But after you explained your method of deduction, it was all made perfect sense. After I received my medical degree in 1878, I was attached to the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. Our regiment was stationed in India, but by the time that I arrived, the war had broken out. I reached Bombay to find my unit, but they had already left and were behind enemy lines. I reached Kandahar to join my unit and start assuming my duties.
What position did you have?
Assistant surgeon. But as soon as I arrived, I was removed from my unit and attached to the Berkshires. I had seen many skirmishes, but I was not ready for my wand.
You were at the Battle of my Wand?
Yes, I was there. It's where I was injured. I had not seen full-blown warfare until that day. We came with 2,500 British and Indian troops against 3,000 Afghan cavalry and 9,000 infantry.
Oh, God!
Yes, it was a massacre. During this, I was struck by a bullet from a Giseo rifle. I would have perished had it not been for my courageous orderly Murray. He saved my life. He threw me on the back of a horse and rode us out of there until we were behind British lines. I saw many atrocities that I will not divulge to you. I still remember the cries of my comrades as we rode out. They haunt my dreams to this very day.
I cannot believe you went through all of that and never mentioned it once. War is such a terrible waste. But if it is any consolation, I'm glad that you survived and that we met. I value your friendship and your courage.
Indeed. Well, Holmes, what's our next move?
I think we need to get some more information from the community. Come, Watson. Time waits for no man.
Especially you, Holmes. Especially you.
I wouldn't stay out a night like this, dear. Don't you read the papers?
What would you have me do then, love? Can't work inside, the clients are out here.
Look, it makes no difference to me. But what with this killer on the loose, you might want to find a new line of work.
Oh yes, there are so many jobs for the likes of me. I appreciate your concern, officer, but I've been on my own since the age of 7 and I know what to look for in a customer.
Like I said, it's no skin off me. See you around, miss.
Hey there, love. Fancy a roll in the hay? Say, governor, you slumming this evening? Need some company?
Get away from me, you gutter snipe.
I ain't no gutter snipe, I's a lady.
By the way, I've nothing for you.
Enjoy your evening, sir. Miserable old sod. Oh, you're a big lad.
Get away from that! Police! Police!
say, Holmes, do you think this is the good time for a visit to Whitechapel? It is rather late.
The criminal element is out and about at this very hour. Our killer is making his move tonight, not during the daytime. And I fear he may try to strike again if we are not vigilant.
What will you fine gentlemen want for this evening?
We would like 2 pints of ale, please. I say, Holmes, this is a rather rough-looking crowd.
That it is, but I believe our Charlie may be about if my informers are correct.
Those irregulars you have stomping about London, they are merely the offspring of this lot.
Precisely. That is the sort of man I'm looking for, so naturally I go to the source. Be patient. I need to survey the room. Don't talk to anyone.
There you are. What happened to your friend?
He had to tidy up in the WC. Thank you, my good woman.
Oh, I could be a good woman if that's your fancy.
This is one place it will not be showing up in my notes.
All right, you mugs, now for the entertainment. You've seen the best, and now you want the rest. We've got just what you need in these terrible times. A song from the art. And where art is, I want to find out. I give you the one, the only, the songbird of the Thames, Miss Kate Flannery.
There is a tavern in the town, and there my true love sits him down, and drinks his wine as merry as can be, and never ever think of me. Very well, for I must leave thee, do not let this parting grieve thee, and remember that the best of friends must part. Adieu, adieu, kind friends, adieu, adieu, adieu. I can no longer stay with you, I'll hang my harp on the weeping willow tree, and may the world go well with me. Very well, for I must leave thee, do not let this parting grieve thee, and remember that the best of friends must part. Very well, for I must leave thee, do not let this parting grieve thee, and remember that the best of friends must part.
Watson, I believe I have a description of this Charlie Van Houten fellow. He's the one who runs most of the girls in this area.
Holmes, you missed a wonderful song by that young woman over there.
Where?
Over there.
Hello, Kate.
Looks like we're getting a better clientele in this joint.
You know each other?
Of course we do. I do have a social life outside of you, Doctor.
We knew each other in our youth. We were a song and dance duo. I see you're working a case again.
Yes, precisely, my dear. You wouldn't happen to know of a Charlie Van Houten by chance?
Well, Charlie, he's a regular here and should be here any moment. Did you like the song, love?
Oh, very much, madam.
Oh, good.
It was a very catchy tune.
We did not come here to exchange your views of music, Doctor.
Holmes, I'm sure the young lady doesn't mind a bit of praise.
Thank you, Doctor. You know, I've been keeping up with your adventures in the Strand. I always knew you'd end up in police work, Shirley.
Consulting detective.
You've come a long way. But don't forget where you came from, or I'll come find you and remind you.
I've always known where I come from, Kate. It's where I'm going that I prefer to look toward. And it appears that our quarry has arrived. Good seeing you, Kate.
See you around, Mr. Holmes. Be careful of his knife.
What do you want to do, Holmes?
I'm going to go over there and talk to him.
What should I do?
Keep an eye on the room. You still have your revolver.
Always.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that. You know, my name is Holmes. I just think to you about some of your girls. It's just two have been murdered. I'm trying to get some information. Yes, exactly. I'm trying to get information. I think you're the equals.
I've got no information for you!
Now I think we can continue this get outside. Watson, if you would be so good as to follow. I have a few questions for you, Mr. Van Houten.
Why? What kind of man are you anyway? I've never seen anyone disarm someone that fast. Me, I've heard something awful.
And that's not the only thing that's going to be awful if you don't start talking.
I need you to tell me everything you can recall about the deaths of Mary and Annie.
I only heard they were split from stem to stern. I can't get anything else out of their friends. When I saw the article in the Gazette, I just knew it was a rip-off.
Yes, I've read the press also, but is there anything else the police may have missed?
I don't know. I'm a businessman. We've got loads of girls on the streets nowadays. I give them all protection.
Yes, we've seen that. Lots of protection we gave them.
I admit, I wish I'd have been there. Mary and Annie were good girls. Everyone liked Mary. She was a popular girl.
Was anyone with her? Who discovered the body?
Well, Nellie was the one who found her. They tended to work together.
Where can we find this Nellie?
Well, she left town shortly after the murder. Told me she had enough. She went out to see some art in the country. Haven't heard from her since.
No doubt she was shaken by the scene. She's not the one we need. Is there anything else? Please, do not hold back. We shall return here and finish this.
I've not heard nothing.
Holmes. Yes, that would be for us, Watson. As for you, Charlie. Coward. All right, we'd better go, Watson.
Yes, we don't want to be caught in this
Here,
neighborhood.
let's take this hansom over here.
Right.
Oh, you gentlemen are out late tonight.
Mrs. Hudson, would you be so good as to refresh the tea for Dr. Watson and myself?
You must be chilled to the bone.
Mr. Holmes! Mr. Holmes!
Oh, could that be this early? It's late. Oh, Inspector.
Lestrade, don't you have other cases to attend to?
I want to know where you two have been tonight.
We were trying to get information about the first murder.
For heaven's sake, Lestrade, we're trying to catch this ripper fellow just as you are.
Well, that's all well and good, but that's not the issue. You were both in an area of a crime scene.
Of course we were. Whitechapel is where the murders occurred. We're trying to find people who know the area and the victims.
Yes, we do appreciate your level of concern for our safety.
That's not it at all. We've had another murder not 3 streets from where you were. Another girl was attacked.
Oh, God.
There was a gentleman who we think tried to stop it, and he was beaten to death.
Did you question the girl?
Well, she was gone when we arrived at the scene, but we found a flask that looks like it might be hers. Now we have another victim.
No. First of all, this is not another victim. This corpse is a man. You said a girl was attacked. Do you have any other information?
The attacker was of some size from the shoe print we found. We also think he was very strong due to the nature of the beating.
Just came for you while you were away, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hudson.
What is it, Holmes?
Is everything all right, Mr. Holmes?
It's from my brother. It appears this case has taken on a somewhat higher profile. The victim's name was Sir Danvers Carew, MP. He's a member of Parliament. My brother says there's a reward out for the capture of the killer. And members of Parliament are up in arms.
Well, if that's who he was, there will be a full investigation. I've got to get back to the yard immediately. Oh, good evening, gentlemen.
This killer is not the ordinary type at all, is he, Holmes?
No, Watson. He is anything but ordinary. I think this may be one for the records. We've got to catch this ripper as soon as possible. Watson, the game's afoot.
Buy my poppies, buy some flowers for the lady in your life. I don't think there's anyone who wants these at this time of night. Excuse me, officer. Care for some flowers for the missus at home?
Don't you know there's a killer on the loose?
Everybody knows that. Buy some poppies.
I wouldn't be in this area at this time of night. You don't know where that man was killed a few nights ago, do you?
Yes, sir.
You do.
Yes, sir. It was in this area.
And were you in this area at the time of the murder?
I saw the whole thing. It was terrible.
We've been searching for you. You saw the man who attacked you.
Yes, sir.
Why are you out at this time of night? You didn't learn the first time.
I'm trying to run straight. Big flowers for sale, but no one wants any.
Here, love. You come with me down to the station. We want you to give a full description of the brute.
All right. I'll give it my best. Oh!
The press have it all wrong. They're more interested in the sensationalism of selling newspapers than they are in doing honest journalism. This is the third time I've read the facts of the case, and they differ in each edition.
You know newsmen only want to sell papers, Holmes. It's not about the facts of the case. That isn't interesting to the masses.
I know what the masses want. They want to leer at the bodies of victims and bless themselves that they are not among them. I want to find this killer. He's using the press to create an image of horrific power over the people. He's a man, Watson, flesh and bone, not some phantom stalking the streets of London. I doubt anyone would see him as he really is. He is a fiend, but he is human, not superhuman. Oh, Lestrade, I assume you've arrived with some news.
Yes, I have, Mr. Holmes. Here is our killer.
Get your hands off me! I don't know what you're talking about!
Says you. He was near the scene of the crime. I picked him up on the way here. He's been snooping around where the ladies work.
Lestrade.
Are you Sherlock Holmes? I've read about you.
Yeah, thank you. Lestrade, do you have any evidence that this man is in any way responsible for these murders?
Murders? What murders?
Inspector, how do you know that this man has anything to do with this case?
He was seen in the area.
Well, now look here.
I was at the scene of the last murder.
Since when is it a crime to walk through a neighborhood?
You are quite right, sir. Anything else, Lestrade?
He fits the description of the suspect. And I don't like the way he looks. He's got beady little eyes. A first-rate killer if ever I saw one.
Fine, Lestrade. Sir, can you tell us where you were last night around 2 a.m.?
I sure can. I was at home with my wife in Whitechapel.
You live in Whitechapel?
Meant I live somewhere. I was there all night.
Seems awfully suspicious to me, Mr. Holmes.
Do you have any identification on you? Thank you. I see you work for Parliament.
Yes, sir. I'm a custodian.
Thank you very much, sir. Satisfied, Lestrade?
Oh, I think there's more to him than meets the eye. We have the morgue report. Officer, take this vagrant down to the yard and book him, and make sure you take a full report.
Right, sir. Come, you.
You're making a mistake! My friends will support me! You'll be sorry!
According to the doctor's report, Mr. Crewe was beaten with a walking stick. His head was crushed with the aforementioned stick that had broken the shaft, and, well, we have the other half of the stick.
Good God. That would take a lot of strength to do that.
You're right, Doctor. This is a particularly gruesome killing. We at the yard think that the killer was interrupted by Carew whilst attacking one of his prey. Well, we're trying to find her at the moment.
We've got to find that girl as quickly as possible, Lestrade. She may be the only witness to the murder, with the only eyewitness report. Watson, we need to see the body. Are you up to such an endeavour this early?
You forget, Holmes. I see death at all hours of the day.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
If you want, gentlemen, we can ride in my Mariah.
Let's not delay, Lestrade, not for a moment.
Here we are, gentlemen. This is the body. Yes. Doctor! 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 Hi. Can you come and show Mr. Holmes your analysis, please?
Adam?
What are you doing here?
I've been doing some volunteer work with the police. What with this Ripper fellow out there?
You two know each other? Yes, we were in Afghanistan together.
Yes, John and I have seen many things.
I hope we may see the body before long.
Holmes, please, there's no reason to be rude. Sorry, Adam. Can you show us your findings?
Very well. The killer used a blunt object that was the primary weapon. The beatings were specifically around the cranial area. The metal chop of the cane was the primary weapon. The right temple has been crushed, which stopped blood flow to the brain. I believe he died from brain hemorrhage within a few minutes.
What of these scratches here in the chest area?
We think there was a scuffle before the beating began.
These scratches look like they were made by the claws of an animal.
Yes, well, maniacs do have tremendous strength when riled.
They do indeed, Mr. Holmes.
We have the weapon, right, Doctor?
Yes.
Oh, now this is a strong piece. To shatter this on a human skull would
Require strength, yes. As I said. This is a strange turn. We've got to find that girl as quickly as possible, Lestrade.
I will check with the duty officer.
Here there be dragons.
What was that, John?
What? Oh, I was just thinking of what they used to write on old maps. They would write, "Here there be dragons," in areas where they didn't know what was out there. It seems we have one here in London.
Watson, I'm surprised at you. There's no such thing as dragons. Seafaring folk are a superstitious lot. And the proper phrase is hic sunt leones, from the ancient Roman cartographers, which translated means, here are lions.
Lions. Dragons. Damn it, Holmes, who cares what they are? People are being brutalized in our city. The police are at their wits' end. We must put a stop to this at once, but we don't have a clue who's doing it.
John, you are letting your darker side get the best of you.
Women are being slaughtered. Men's heads bashed in. This is intolerable.
Lieutenant, you need to take a breather. Just breathe, John. Breathe.
You're right, Adam. I'm better now. Sorry, Holmes. I haven't seen this level of violence since my Afghan days.
I remember during the war, John would get into such a foul mood being in such a place. We would try to not let our darker selves be affected.
Watson, if this case is going to be too much of a strain...
I have never shied away from a case before, and I am not about to now, Holmes.
He is the better man. It's good to see you, Doctor. Watson.
Oh. Sorry, Holmes, for the outburst. I'm just trying to get my head around this whole crime.
Perhaps a walk toward Baker Street would be just the thing.
Perhaps you're right. But there must be a logical explanation for these crimes. But I must admit, I can't make heads or tails of it. I fear for the people of London.
Remember, crime isn't a science. There is no rhyme or reason to some acts of depravity. It's the human element alone that muddles the thinking. Stick to that resolve.
It's your paper, sir.
Ah, thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Doctor, do you think this crime will be solved soon? I'm at my wit's end. Life in London is not what it once was.
I assure you, Mrs. Hudson, Holmes will find this killer quickly. Don't worry yourself.
I'm not so sure, sir. He's always in a hurry, except when he's on a case.
I'm sure he has his reasons.
Oh, keep working, Mr. Holmes.
She's in a rare mood.
It's this Ripper thing. She's just concerned, as am I.
I need to see him. I need to see him straight away.
What the devil?
Excuse me, gentlemen, this young lady seems to need your help.
Are you Sherlock Holmes?
Ma'am.
I need help. I've been attacked. Twice.
Are you the young lady that was attacked with Carew?
I don't know any crew, but he was a beast.
Mrs. Hudson, would you get some tea and biscuits for this young woman? Now, please, young lady, sit down and tell me what happened. Now, you say you've been attacked twice.
Yes, I need help. He's after me.
Your name, Miss?
Polly.
Miss Polly. I need you to tell me everything you can recall from both the first time you were attacked and this most recent time. So, tell me about the first attack.
An alleyway in Whitechapel. He's always in the alleyways.
And the second attack, where was that?
The same street, but in a different alleyway. He came out of the shadows like a demon.
What did he look like?
I never saw his face, but he had an axe, cloak, and cane. He was huge.
No, he cast a shadow that was...
No, sir. He was huge. Monstrous. Neither of the men could have subdued him.
I'm sure he wasn't a monster.
He was, I tell you! You don't believe me! The great detective in the magazines would believe
Miss
me!
Polly! Miss Polly, I believe you. Now, you must sit down, calm down, and give me more details.
Holmes, a moment.
Miss Polly, have some tea and a few biscuits. Miss Hudson, if you please.
Here's some tea, relax, dear. Mr. Holmes knows what he's doing.
I don't know what it's like.
Oh, I know you've had such a shock. Have a biscuit.
It's horrible. I can't get it out of my mind.
Please, I've known Mr. Holmes for many years, and if anyone can help, it's him and the good Dr. Watson. They've solved the most heinous crimes in London. Surely you know they wouldn't leave a young lady in distress. Now, drink your tea and calm yourself.
Holmes, do you think that this young lady will be able to tell you what you need to know? I'm wondering if we shouldn't call the inspector.
No, she may be the break in the case that we need. I shall be gentle with her. Now, Miss Polly, you said that a bobby tried to defend you.
Yes, he tried to beat him with his club, but was cut down with a knife. It was horrible. There was so much blood.
I thought he had a cane.
Yes, the first attack was with a cane. The second was with a knife. It's curious.
I don't want this monster out there anymore. I see him in my dreams. I have constant nightmares. I can't take it anymore.
No. He can't hurt you. He's not here.
Can you take us back to the alleyways where these attacks happened?
Please don't make me go back there.
Miss Polly, there is nothing to fear. Dr. Watson and I shall be with you the entire time.
Come, my child. Now, remember, we'll not let anything happen to you, I assure you.
Are you sure you'll be able to stop him?
Miss Polly, evil like this flourishes when good men do nothing. Or good women. Now, I can see you are a brave soul. Won't you help us to catch this criminal?
I'll show you both where it happened.
That's the spirit.
But are you sure you'll be able to stop him?
Holmes can't. My revolver will. Now, you don't have to worry about this maniac. You've read the stories about Mr. Holmes, haven't you?
Yes, sir. You and him are the bravest people I know.
Well, I don't know about that. But I do know that we won't rest until this maniac is behind bars. That I can promise you.
Please don't leave me out there alone with him.
Miss, as a soldier of Her Majesty's service, I will not fail you.
I hope you're right, Agnes. There should be some fellas that are feeling a bit randy this evening. Evening, Governor. Nothing.
They'll come.
I hope so. My wits is crosswised.
Don't worry about your wits, dear. Money is the root of our problems.
I hope they're going straight with... Agnes, look out!
confused. Did you get a good shot at him?
I think I did. What with all this fog?
Good show, man. And I think this may prove to be more important than we realize.
Holmes, what do you say? He got away.
Yes, he did. But I think this event may prove to be his downfall. Let's get Miss Polly back to Baker Street.
Oh, my dear.
The killer will not strike in the daylight. We know that much.
That would make sense. He hasn't done that in the past. He only seems to strike in the Whitechapel area. If we concentrate on that area, it seems that we would have an advantage.
Precisely. We need to figure out where and when he might strike next. Lestrade and his men could put a barrier around the area so that the killer couldn't escape.
I don't think he would want to appear too soon, what with you striking him during that last row.
I would like to think that, but that man had prodigious strength. I'm not sure my Barrett Sue was sufficient. Still, there should be some injury to his left shoulder.
Holmes, you amaze me. Anyone else would be proud of the way they handled that monster like you did.
Watson, you make me sound like that hero you write up in the Strand. I'm just a man with an intellect. No hero, I assure you. I wonder who that could be.
Mr. Holmes! Mr. Holmes!
Ah! The voice of the average. Inspector Lestrade, there you are. How good of you to see me.
Pardon the intrusion, gentlemen, but I just got word of your incident.
You are always welcome, Inspector.
I assure you we're fine.
I know the basic facts of the case, but if you would indulge me by repeating them so that I can complete my report.
Very well. Holmes, in disguise, confronted the killer. They grappled. Holmes was able to strike his shoulder. I came on the scene and saw him disappear into the fog. I took a shot at him, but I am not sure if I hit him. We brought Miss Polly here afterwards, and she is sleeping upstairs.
Anything to add, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, it was very foggy.
It was...
Holmes, please. The inspector is just trying to help.
Lestrade, do you think this is the same man who's been attacking the women in Whitechapel?
All indications would say so, that I see.
There, I believe, we have a lack of evidence. I don't think it's the same man.
Holmes! Why would you say that, Mr. Holmes?
This killer has done ghastly things to these women. The trio has been told for some time. The hysteria in London has reached a fever pitch. I believe there are two killers on the loose. One using the Ripper's persona for his own devices.
A different killer? Why? Mr. Holmes, I can't see that there are two of these men running around in London. I mean, I will agree with you that the crimes are heinous, but to have two killers, well, it would be an affront to Scotland Yard.
He's right, Holmes. That would be an affront to Scotland Yard that they wouldn't be able to handle. I agree with you, Inspector.
Thank you. I'm surprised at you, Watson. There isn't the slightest lingering doubt that there could possibly be two killers.
No, sir. None whatsoever.
I admire your tenacity. Inspector, will you humour me a moment? Stand there, will you? And Watson, will you stand there? Now, let us say that Watson is the Ripper. He has already killed at least two women, correct?
That's correct.
How did he kill them?
He used a very sharp knife.
Correct. He took a sharp blade, slit the women open, and spilled their organs. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, you are the one who attacked Polly. What happened?
Well, according to the report, he was interrupted by the gentleman. She escaped and he was beaten to death with a walking stick.
What does this have to do?
Watson, please. Inspector, don't you think that if the killer used a knife for the first two killings, he would have used a knife for Polly also?
Well, it does stand to reason, but Mr. Holmes, he was thwarted by Carew.
Correct. He didn't think anyone would help her, so he beat Carew to death with the ferocity of a brute animal.
Oh, how can you prove that, Mr. Holmes?
The fact that both initial victims have identical cuts on their bodies in the same place. This takes a calculating mind to do this. The other victim was bludgeoned to death with a cane.
Bludgeoned or stabbed, they both died at the hands of a fiend.
Quite correct, Watson. But the targets are very different. Look at the facts of the case. Both women were ladies of ill repute. Carew was trying to help one of them when he was attacked. If the killer was the Ripper, wouldn't he have had a knife in his hand and used that on Carew also?
Well, it does raise suspicion.
Quite correct, Miss Trump. And if the killer was the Ripper, he wouldn't have used a cane. Incredible. Well,
I have to go back to the yard and have another look at that cane. I mean, I do hope you're wrong, Mr. Holmes. We don't need two killers running loose in London. Good evening, gentlemen.
Holmes, do you think there's time to catch this second killer?
of course, my old friend, there is always time to catch a killer.
I thought so. Well, I shall retire until tomorrow. Good night, Holmes.
It's a good night, Watson.
Mr. Holmes, have you been up all night? It's very stuffy in here. We need to open a window. Oh, very early for a caller. Oh. He's been up all night.
Not finding what you want?
I've not found a shred of evidence. I'm beginning to think this matter was a figment of my imagination.
Now, Holmes, you are too hard on yourself. You haven't eaten breakfast, you smoke too much, and you get into a mania when you are vexed. Have a seat, and we'll get some new tea from Mrs. Hudson. Now, don't worry, Holmes, there hasn't been another murder since the night before. And I saw in the papers today that they're having a funeral for Carew tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Ah, Mrs. Hudson, may we have some fresh tea, please?
Oh, certainly.
And Mycroft is coming down on me like a storm in the tropics. I can't believe that someone could vanish into air. It defies all logic.
Now, Holmes, you have told me for years that when you have eliminated all which is impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Remember?
You are my dearest friend. Thank you for reminding me that truth and logic win out every time.
It's tea.
Mrs. Hudson, please, allow me.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Doctor, I think you found the chink in his armour.
It does take some doing.
That's quite a feather in your cap, Doctor.
Feather in your cap. Mrs. Hudson! You're a genius. What? Watson, we haven't a moment to lose.
Excuse me. Mrs. Hudson, pardon me.
Good luck! Good gracious, those are two of the strangest lodgers I've ever had. Oh my goodness.
Watson, we haven't the time. He's still alive.
Holmes!
Yes. I know this is a shock.
It's Adam! It can't be! We served together!
He isn't the same man with whom you served. Look, I'll explain. I didn't know it was Adam until a few moments ago, and then all the pieces started to come together. As you know, Adam is a man of science like yourself. He has an intimate knowledge of the human body and of its defects. You reminded me of this when you suggested to Mrs. Hudson that I have a chink in my arm, or a defect, if you will. Adam revealed that defect at our first meeting. Do you remember how he looked when Mrs. Hudson first took out her new hat? He looked blanched, as if he'd seen something he never wished to see again. You served with him in the Afghanistan, correct?
Yes, we served together. You know that. I was with the Berkshires.
Yes, Watson, I do know that, but have you ever heard of a coward's feather?
No, that's not possible. I would have known.
Watson, my dear friend, there are many sides to a man's ego. Perhaps you didn't know because he didn't want you to know. In times of war, there are many strange rituals that happen. As you know, a coward's feather is when a young man or woman presents someone in public with a white feather to signify that in their mind that person is a coward. It's a very disturbing ritual, and I don't think really marks the measure of a man or woman, but some still persist in thus humiliating their victims. I think your friend has had that happen to him. I wasn't sure before, but I am fairly certain we can find some evidence here to support my theory. Here we are. These papers represent his entire personnel file, including his discharge papers. See, this proves that he was with another unit before he joined yours. You note how the name has been changed.
But what does this have to do with the murder?
He isn't the same man you knew. Now, in addition to being a brilliant doctor, he has been engaged in a study of man's internal strife against his evil self. You remember how he spoke of your dark side when you were upset? Yes. Adam has been trying to rid himself of his evil self. And that's not possible. Adam's real name is Dr. Henry Jekyll.
John, what are you doing? How did I get here?
I don't know. But my friend and I have some questions for you.
Tell me, Doctor, are you still trying to rid yourself of your inner demon?
You know, don't you? Well, I knew this was the way it would end. Tried to stop myself, but now it's taken a life on its own.
Surely there must be something that we can
No,
do.
no. There isn't anything anyone can do. My demon has a hold of me and won't let go. I didn't mean to kill Carew.
No one ever means to kill anyone, but it still happens.
Okay, I know it's not an apology, but I was on the brink of something that would rid ourselves of evil in our very souls. I mean, imagine a world where we could get rid of evil. The world would be a better place. John Wall would be abolished. I can't explain all that has transpired, but I can't let you take me. Hand me my bag, John. Now I take my leave of you. Pray for my soul.
No, we must do something. No. No, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. He's doomed. I do hope this will clarify things, Lestrade.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. You know that we hanged him yesterday, and we had quite a bit of trouble with him, and it wasn't until his butler gave us the information that we knew he was two people.
He died yesterday.
Yes, but the man we hung isn't the same man on this table. He's changed somehow. The man we captured was a large, younger man of great strength, and he was very hairy like an ape. But as you can see, this is Dr. Fisher. I don't know quite what to make of it, Mr. Holmes. But it seems that you were right in that there being two killers, and this one we found by mistake.
Which means that the Ripper is still at large.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, that is correct. We have not caught the Ripper yet.
What made him do it, Holmes? What made him think that he could tear a part of himself from his soul?
I do not know. Inspector, do you have any answers?
We found this notebook in his laboratory. It might give you some answers, Doctor. I wish I could give you more.
That's quite all right, Inspector. I will find the answers in due course.
I do hope he will be all right.
He will be. I shall see to it. Lestrade, I want to thank you for your help in this matter. It isn't what we set out to find, but at least we have one less killer roaming the streets of London.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Holmes, you have always been a mystery to me, but your methods do work in times of strife. And hopefully in the new century, there'll be more people like you, sir, on the side of right.
Well, if you need me, you know where to find me. I hope.
So, as you see, we found the culprit. I offer you many apologies from Her Majesty and myself. I do not agree with Inspector Lestrade's zeal in apprehending the killer, and we cannot give you the days back that you were in jail, but we have destroyed your file at Scotland Yard, and you are a free man.
It isn't your fault, Mr. Holmes.
You have every right to be upset.
No, I just want to get back to my life.
Very well then. Goodbye. And if there is ever any way that we can repay you for this gross miscarriage of justice, please do not hesitate to contact me at the Diogenes Club. Godspeed.
Flowers, mister.
Excuse me, miss. Do you have any hobbies?
I